Hey guys, what's up? It's Hex here today, and today we're going to be looking at how to build some custom trees in the round form style. So these trees all kind of have a roundish appearance, and we're going to take a look at how to build them. And I'm going to be using ratios like I did for my cherry blossom trees, so to try to get some better trees and kind of demystify the tree building process. All right, before we get started, the main reason I'm building these trees is because I had a hard time building some custom trees myself. So I had a video on koi ponds, and I tried to build some custom trees in the back of that, and my custom trees didn't look so good. And so what I wanted to do was build some of these trees that have this rounded sort of appearance. And I know it's not like perfectly round because that would kind of make it not look like a tree anymore. In fact, I tried to build some that were perfectly round, and I tore them all out because they were terrible. So I've come up with these. I'm pretty happy with them. I'm especially happy with this one, and I will explain what the heck all of this colored wool and concrete is doing. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at the simplest size of this thing. So again, I'm using ratios to try to get these correct. And so a lot of trees, they grow in certain ratios and in certain patterns. There's all kinds of mathematical relationships and ways that you can kind of look at trees using mathematical ideas, especially ratios, to kind of get the tree to look correctly. So let me explain this and try to demystify some of the math so that it's not too like, oh my gosh, math, help me. It's really not that hard to explain how to do this. And the reason that you might want to use math to do it is because if you're just kind of building a tree, especially like in survival mode, getting it to look right can be really challenging. You might be able to make it so that the trunk is kind of too big, or like it's too close to the ground, the canopy is too close to the ground, or the leaves don't look right, or the top of it's too small, or it just doesn't kind of go the way that you want it to look. So instead of trying to Instead of trying to just eyeball it and then get frustrated, what I like to do is to try to think about and map out like how the tree is supposed to look from a mathematical perspective first, and then kind of build a tree around that. So I'm going to show you the process. I'm going to show you the very beginning ratio. It's right here. So basically, this round tree form, so what I'm talking about a round tree is that it kind of has like a rounded top. It doesn't stick out too long, and it's not like a tall, like a pine tree, or like, what do you call those things? Can't think of the name of the tree. Anyway, but whatever. So it kind of has like a rounded appearance, right? So the round tree form goes like this. It's a 2-to-3 ratio of the trunk to the canopy. Sounds complicated. Stick with me. Okay, so basically all that means is that if the trunk of the tree, so these two concrete blocks would represent the trunk of the tree, is 2 blocks, then that means the canopy of the tree, and the canopy is of course where the leaves come from, or where the leaves are, is 3 blocks tall. That's it. So if this is 2 blocks tall, then that means this would be 3 blocks tall. Okay, then the width of the tree is equal to the height of the tree. So that means this is now 2 plus 3, so it's 5 blocks tall. That means that it needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks wide, like that, and that would give you your rounded tree form. Okay, so this is the tree that I built from that, that is in a 2-to-3 relationship. And obviously this tree is small. It's not like one of these giant trees, but I'll show you how to get there. So if you understand the small one, then understanding the larger one is pretty straightforward. Okay. So then there are 2 blocks here for our trunk, just like we had 2 blocks here of concrete, and then 3 blocks here of canopy. So we can count 1, 2, 3, and then we can see that the tree is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks wide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks tall, and then I put the leaves around it in hopefully a somewhat pleasing shape. Now it's a little bit hard to do this ratio perfectly with a small tree because you kind of end up with like a little pyramid, which isn't too bad. But that's probably not what you're going for. You're probably going for more like something like that, or maybe this guy. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to take the ratio and scale it up. And all that means is we're going to multiply this number here and this number here by the same number. Okay, so on this next tree right here, this one here is The trunk is 2 times 1.5, giving us 3 blocks. And the canopy is going to be 3 times 1.5, giving us 4.5 blocks. Now, I know we can't really have 4.5 blocks because we have leaf blocks, so I just kind of rounded up to 5. Okay, so that means our width is going to be 7.5, and then our height is about 8.5. And this +1 right here, what I was doing is I was adding a single block to the width versus the height, and you can do that in the taller ones. It doesn't even matter. As long as the width is pretty darn close to the height, or sorry, the width is pretty darn close to the height of the tree, then you're good to go. Okay, so I decided to multiply it by 1.5 because that gives us kind of this size of tree. Okay, if you multiply it by 3, then you have that size of tree. So we'll get there soon. Okay, so that gives us this. So our trunk then is going to be 3 blocks tall, and our canopy is going to be 4.5 blocks tall. All right, so that's what this layout is right here. I've got a trunk of 3 and a canopy of 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks tall. Now, multiplying it by like 1.5 is kind of hard, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not like hard, but it's like mathematically a little bit more confusing than multiplying it by a different number. But what I want you to look at right here on the sign is I want you to look at that. Whoa, zooming in is a little crazy. That this 1.5, I've multiplied the trunk and the canopy numbers by the same 1.5. That's it. Okay, if you can do that, then you could make a tree of any size. Let's say you want your trunk to be 10 blocks tall. Well, 2 times 5 makes 10. So then your canopy needs to be 3 times 5, 15 blocks tall. Okay, yeah, so that's the basic way that these ratios work. This has been Hex. I will see you later. No, I'm just kidding. So let's go ahead and build and look at this tree, and then I was going to build this middle-sized tree, and then we're going to take a look at these 2 trees over here. I don't want to make a long tutorial as far as like building tons and tons of trees, but I do want to show you how to take this ratio and then use it to create yourself a nice, happy tree. All right, so looking at this one again, our trunk is supposed to be 3 blocks tall, and our canopy is supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So let's take a look at this one. So you can see that I have a trunk of 1, 2, and 3. Now I am playing in 1.12 for this, so then if you were in 1.13, you could use those nice bark blocks and not have this sort of exposed top on it, but whatever. Then the canopy, which would start about here, and I know I have a couple of blocks hanging down, and that was because it sort of looked funny, right? So you can like, okay, that kind of looks weird, right? That it's completely flat right here. That looks a little weird. So what you want to do, I had a couple blocks here and one there and one there. Now, you can violate the ratio a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean by a block or 2, depending on the size of the tree. If it's a really big tree, then you can go outside of this number by like 2 blocks. If it's a small tree, then you might go outside of one of these numbers by 1 block. And it would still look okay. All right. This isn't my favorite tree, by the way, so just in case you're like, that tree looks derpy, I kind of agree with you. Okay, so then what I did is I took and I made my trunk 1, 2, 3, and then I made my canopy 1, 2, 3, 4.5, and so I just put a full block and rounded up, basically, right? So that would be 4. This is 4.5 right there. Okay, then the width is the same as 3 plus 4.5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have is our height, and our width is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I threw one on the end there. Okay, all right. So then what I did is I took some branches and I put some branches sticking out. So that's what this is. We got a little branch there. We've got a branch coming up this way, and then our tree kind of leaned over a little bit on this side, and then I've got a branch coming out that way. So I find it easier to kind of create a branching structure inside of the tree to make it look a little bit better than just a stick with some leaves at the top. That was the thing that I was kind of doing that I didn't like when the trees got bigger. So on this one, you might forego the branches and just put the canopy like here instead, like putting these branches out there. But I think that having the branches make it look more tree-like because you can see some branching inside of the trees, which is pretty normal for a tree if you're looking at trees around. Okay, enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and build a tree. So this one over here is a little bit more straightforward ratio. So our round tree form, we've got a 2 by 3, 2 to 3 trunk canopy width, And then our width is equal to our height, maybe plus 1 or 2, we'll see. Okay, so then our trunk on this one here, we doubled the trunk. So the trunk is 2, our ratio 2, times 2, which gives us 4, and our canopy was 3. So we multiply that by 2, and we get 6. Okay, so again, we've multiplied our 2 to 3 ratio, which is right here, times 2 to get our 2 numbers for our trunk and canopy. Then our tree is 4 plus 6, so 10 tall. I couldn't fit another L. It's not that I can't spell tall. It's that I couldn't fit another L, and I didn't want to make another sign. Our width is 10, and then plus 1 block, so that would be like a total of 11. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wide. Our tree is 11 tall, and then you can see the trunk is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks tall with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the canopy. All right. So I've laid that out again over here so we can build a nice tree. Let me see. Is this built right? Let's see. Let's double check it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And then we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So this right here is actually going to become our tree. And you can see I kind of started a little bit of a trunk down here. So what we're going to do is, if you were actually building this in survival mode, or if you were kind of building these for the first time, I highly recommend you create this structure right here, this weird plus sign, this 3D plus sign in the air here. Create that and then build around it, okay? And then take it out if you need to as you go. The reason I recommend that is because, especially if you're creating in survival mode, it's really difficult to like scaffold around, look at the tree, see if it's kind of growing in the shape that you want it to. So if you have this right here, it's just really easy. Okay, I can't go past this block, I can't go past that block, and this is my trunk, and yada yada, and it's just really straightforward. Okay, you can see inside of this one that I built, I think this might be my favorite one, that I left some of that trunk in there. Or I left some of this in there. And obviously, when I was done with the tree, I'm going to take this out, and I will take this out during the tutorial. But I just wanted you to see that I actually built this tree with this stuff out, sitting there in the air. Okay, let's go ahead and build this. So first what we want to do is we want to continue our trunk up. So I need to pull out some blocks of birchwood. Oh, there. Okay. What can I replace? I think I can replace the sign for now. There we go. Okay, so our trunk, we go up to here. So we got 1, 2, 3. There we go. So our leaves are going to start at that point right there. Now, there's a couple of different types of trees that you can build once you do this. There's a couple different branching structures, and that's what these 2 trees are about. So if you look at this one, if I look kind of upwards at the tree, you'll notice that it has a central trunk, and it has branches coming out of it, like this. Coming out of that central trunk. That central trunk goes all the way to the top and is relatively straight all the way to the top. So if I were to stand here, I would basically go right straight down on the trunk. Okay, that would be a tree that has a central trunk. This tree does not have a central trunk. It has kind of a starting trunk, and then that trunk splits into 2 big branches that go off in random directions. And then there's random branches coming off of that, both sideways, vertical, and so on. And as I was looking at trees around where I live, I noticed that these 2 different types of branching structures. One where it had a central trunk with branches coming off, like your sort of Christmas tree style. Another one that sort of looked almost like a bush, where it kind of, the branching sort of started almost at the bottom of the tree and sort of branched up and out. That's kind of the oak trees around where I live. They do that. They kind of have like a trunk that goes up about, I don't know, 3-4 feet, and then from there it's just all these branches that come out of that, rather than a trunk that goes up like 30 feet, and then the branches are just coming off the sides. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to build that type here, and then we'll take a look at how long the tutorial is and see if I want to build the type that branches all over the place. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue our trunk upwards like this. So even though these are going to be canopy blocks, like our trunk still is going up in the middle. And then at the top, you could leave like 1 or 2 blocks for some leaves. All right. Now let's take a look and see where we want to put some branches. So let's see. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to put a block temporarily right there just to remind me that this is canopy. Okay. So then let's take a look and let's take a branch out from here. So I'm going to get rid of this. So we got we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to play with. So I got 1, 2, and let's go out this way, 3, 4, and do a branch like that. Okay. And then from here, maybe let's do a branch coming out this way. And then this would be a great place if we had those logs. And then maybe we'll put one that way and one this way a little bit, like that. Okay, and then we're going to put one there. And as far as our branching, like, it should be sort of random, right? Like, trees don't grow with like perfectly straight out branches. Unless you're really going for like a holiday tree sort of thing, like they grow in weird ways. They kind of grow up like this and then maybe out a little bit. Maybe they're kind of a little bit crooked, like maybe they come out this way and then they come back like that. Like that. And they also go in diagonals. So we'll go in diagonal like this and kind of come up this way like that. But see that I'm staying within that 11 block thing. Now remember, I want my canopy to be 11 blocks. So if I come out 6 from this, 1, 2, 3, 4, or sorry, if I come out 5 from this, then I can't put a tree block, leaves at the end. So basically my longest branches need to be 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks only. Okay, cool. There we go. It's kind of a nice little branch structure, I guess. Let's go ahead and put some leaves around it. So this depends on the type of tree. So some trees have a lot of leaves at the ends of their branches, and they have branches coming off of those that are little spindly ones, and the whole thing is just completely full of leaves, and you can't even see into it. And some trees are a little bit more scant when it comes to the branches. The way that I built those is I just kind of started surrounding the branches with some leaves like this, and then I started to fill in a little bit more. So I'm just going to fill in a little bit more. And this is kind of where the tree starts to take on its own character. But because you know your limits, you know how far out you need to go, you know how far up you need to go, you know kind of you don't want to go past this, you're trying to build a tree that's somewhat rounded, then you can experiment within those boundaries and not have to worry about your tree looking weird at the end. Because that's what I would do, is I would try to experiment with, different things and put leaves in different fun places, and then all of a sudden my tree looks like some sort of slime block or something. It's like, what? How did that happen? Okay. All right, here's another branch, so we're going to put some leaves around that. And notice that I'm just kind of surrounding the tree branch with the leaves, like that, okay? And depending on how full you want your tree to be, you could put more leaves or less leaves. So I'm going to try to go with a little bit more of an open-looking tree so that you can see some of the branches inside of it. Kind of what I'm going for here. So I'm just kind of, putting some around like this. And I'm basically just putting a branch on, or some leaves on every face that is exposed of the birchwood, and then just kind of adding a few more, kind of more towards the trunk of the tree like this. Okay, so every side like that. Let's get that one right there. There we go. And there we go. Okay, we can get rid of these now because we know our limit. That and put one around every side like that. Okay, and then maybe one there. And this looks a little funny, so let's maybe fill that in a little bit. And yeah. Again, this is harder to do in survival mode because you have to scaffold around to really see what's going on with your tree. You know what? This part of the tree looks like it doesn't have enough branches, so I'm going to stick another branch coming out this way. Like that. There we go. All right. Around it. Put a couple there, one here. I was just a little bit worried that part of the tree would look a little bit too open and weird, so I put some extra leaves there. All right, we need a leaf there and one there, don't we? Same kind of thing going on here. Okay, starting to look like a tree, isn't it? And what's really driving the fact that this is looking like a tree is not Hex's awesome ability to build trees. I actually suck at this. I'm terrible. So, because I'm following this ratio, and because the trees build themselves in this ratio like real trees, then we can be pretty happy with the result. Pretty happy with this result, to be honest with you. Like a little bit more leaves right here, and maybe a couple kind of coming down like that, and maybe one there and one here, just to kind of fill this in a tiny bit more. And yeah, we kind of got that same triangle thing going on here, don't we? Okay. And there, and there. There. Okay. And maybe we'll put one or two here. This kind of looks a little bare. I'm just kind of putting some leaves in places that I thought looked funny. That's it. This looks funny because it's like looks really flat, so let's put a block there and see what happens. Yeah, that's not too bad. Maybe a couple more in there. All right. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So see how I'm still staying pretty much within this 4 thing. I went over it just a little bit here and there to kind of give the tree a little bit more roundness. But for the most part, I stayed right within it. Okay? And like I said, you're totally allowed to go out of it like 1 block here or there, but not too much. Because if you do too much, then the ratio doesn't work anymore, right? So there we go. In fact, the fact that I put these down here kind of looks weird now. So let's get rid of them. So now we're 100% within the ratio. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we got ourselves a nice little tree. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with this. It's very round, very lollipop kind of looking, but that's what I was going for with this particular tutorial. So that's really good. Really happy about it. Let's screenshot this thing. How about this way? Let's float up a little bit. There we go. All right, that's a good screenshot right there. Okay, pretty cool. All right, what do you guys think? You want me to do a bigger one? Fine, we'll do a bigger one. All right, so what I'd like to do is do one more of these trees in this style, and we're gonna go with this size. So let's see, how big did I make this? There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I multiplied this one by 3, okay? So I'm going to start completely from scratch, and I'm going to try to recreate a tree in this style right here. All right. Let's take this out real quick now that I know how big this is, just to kind of show you the result of this once I completely remove all of my markings. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think that it could use a block right here, don't you think? It kind of looks a little weird, that floating in the air. There we go. Okay, yeah. You can really see the openness of this style of tree. Where this one here was a little bit closed, and also because it's smaller too, right? Sweet. Okay, here we go. So that one was 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 2 times 3 to get 6. So we got 1. And you don't necessarily have to alternate your concrete if you build this yourself. I'm just doing it so that you guys can count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome. And then on the top, it's going to be 3 times 3, so it's going to be 9. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, sweet. And then, let's see, probably about 3 up or so. Like where the crossbar is I haven't figured out an exact ratio for that, but basically on a bigger tree I've been going up about 2 or 3, and then on a smaller one I went up about 1 or 2 in the canopy. So that's super mathematical right there, but whatever. Okay, 1, and what is, wait, 9 plus 6, that's 15, right? So that means I need to do each branch is 7. 1, 2. All right, so we got the whole thing all built out. So, yeah, actually I had some, I wasn't going to tell you about this, but I might as well. I had some audio problems, and I actually built this entire tree based on that. So, yeah, we have an extra tree to show you. So this one here had a little bit more leaf to it. So I added quite a bit more leaves in this one than I had like in that one or that one. So what I'm going to try to do is kind of go in between this tree and that one as far as the amount of leaves. So, yeah, so anyways, sometimes things go wrong, but then we just deal with it, right? So here we go. Okay. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to start with our trunk. So we need the trunk is going to go beyond 6 tall, but the thing is I'm going to build one of these that has kind of a split up trunk, okay? And I'll explain what I mean by that as we go forward. So some trees, they have this, the trunk is kind of split, and it splits sort of early. So I'm going to go up about 3 blocks, and then we're going to start to split it into, let's do 3 sections. So we got 1 and 2, like that, and then 3. So basically this tree is going to have sort of a main trunk that hits the ground, and then it's going to split into 3 kind of like daughter trunks or something. I don't know what you would call it, but like that. Okay, and I'm going to kind of spread them out a little bit. So we're going to go out 2 like this. Now the fun part about building these trees is that once you have this ratio established, then you get to be creative, because you get to create within the structure of the, of the ratio that you've created, right? So that way, you're able to explore any creative ideas that you want to do with your tree, but your tree's still going to look good in the end because it's going to satisfy the ratio of what a tree should be. I'm going to go around actually like that, I think, and then we'll come up with this one like this. And then maybe this one has a branch that comes out this way, right? And there we go. And maybe there's a branch coming out this way from it as well, all right? And maybe from this one, there's a branch coming this way. And maybe up a couple, we've got a branch like that. And maybe this branch comes down just a little bit like this. Maybe it's not a straight one. Kind of comes down like that. And then, you know what? Maybe this branch actually comes out more diagonally and down like this. There we go. So I'm just kind of playing around with it. And honestly, guys, I'm not very good at building trees like naturally. You know what I mean? So the reason that this tree is going to look good is entirely because of the ratio, not because of my tree building excellence. I'm very not so good at it. Okay, let's bring this one up here, and then maybe there's a little branch that comes out that way. And you just kind of have fun kind of establishing like where you want these branches to come out and where you want them to go. And yeah, so we're just going to come out, and maybe this one here is going to come up a little ways further. And maybe there's going to be a branch like this coming out that way. And maybe just a short one there that goes up by 1. And if you're in 1.13, I highly recommend that you use some of these logs that the bark blocks actually, because that way you don't see these end pieces so much in your build. Okay, that's pretty good. And then we're gonna come over here, and then we're gonna maybe stick one out like this, like that. There we go. And you just get to kind of create and be creative, and however you want your tree to look, you can kind of just do whatever. Okay, because you'll notice that by leaving the colored blocks in here, what I've got is I've got the ability to make it so that my tree is not going to violate the ratio, and it's going to look pretty nice. All right, we're going to bring one branch up like that, and that's going to be kind of more of our center. There we go. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Notice that I kind of stayed back from the edges, at least by 1 block. So what I mean by the edges is these blocks right here. So sort of our outer limit of the ratio here is right there. And I stayed back by 1 block, and that's because what you don't want is you don't want, like at the very end, a branch like sticking out like this, and then having leaves around it like that. That's going to look a little strange, like your tree was sort of cut off a little bit. But you could try it too. It doesn't really matter. Because it's a creative process, right? Oops, I didn't mean to break that one. I kind of wanted that one there. Okay, there we go. Like that. It's a creative process, so just kind of enjoy it. There we are. Okay. Now, obviously, we need to kind of do something down here. So let's put a normal block here, like that. And I'm going to take this out so that as I build the leaves, I know where I'm going. But I'm going to leave that very last top colored block just to give me a reference point, and then I'm going to do the same thing on these 4 arms coming out like this. That way, we don't have colored blocks inside of our tree. But we still have the nice ratio, and we still know where to stop. Okay? All right. I'm liking this tree so far. I know it doesn't look like much at this point, but actually this is a really nice start. Okay? One thing that I've noticed is if you have an area with no branches, then it's going to kind of look a little bit funny once you do your tree. So like maybe right here we need another branch coming out. Maybe this maybe this direction, like this. And like that. That's going to help when we start putting leaves in. Nope, we want that one there, like that. There we go. Okay, that's going to help a little bit. And then maybe we'll have one sticking out this way. And let's see. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? It was to make sure that I knew where my 6 was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so we're going to put 2 more blocks back in there. So that's like the trunk size. So then we don't go too low. All right. Okay, this is looking pretty good. So notice that I've kind of got some branches like all over the tree where I'm going to put the canopy. Okay, so then to start doing the canopy, what I like to do is just sort of start putting some blocks only next to a wood block. So basically I'm going like this. I'm not coming out like that quite yet. You can, but this is just kind of my process of how I'm doing this. So if you don't have a process that you like, then this is a good one, because it kind of just gets things started. Okay, there we go. And it also depends like on how you want your tree to be. I'm noticing that a lot of trees, like some of them have just branches on the outer edge of the tree, and some of them have leaves on sort of the outer limbs of the tree, and then some of them have limbs or leaves like more on the limbs on the inside. So what I'm trying to say is like this one here, right? So this one here has a lot of leaves sort of on the inside of it, right? But some trees have a lot more space on the inside, like this one, okay? And in fact, this one could be a little bit more spacious than what I'm talking about. And this one here has quite a bit of space on the inside. So it's kind of up to you what sort of tree you're going for, and how many leaves are on the interior of the canopy, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're just going to go like this, and I'm just going to do about 3 out on each of these. And these diagonal ones end up looking really cool because they add a lot of flavor to the tree. So I like the diagonal ones versus the straight ones on these. Okay, go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Like that. Okay. Just going all the way around our tree. Gonna put some leaves here and there. There we go. Actually, I'm not putting them here and there, huh? I'm going on just the outsides of the wood blocks. So basically surrounding every face of every wood block that's exposed with some leaves just to get started. Hey, 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 hey. All right, keep doing this. Go. We'll go put one there. And that's pretty good. We want to do that one. Do this one. There we go. Okay. Pretty good. And another thing about making trees is that it's a very, creative, organic process. And I think that that's what I like about it, is that you're able to make your tree in such a way that it's a reflection of your own creativity, right? So your tree shouldn't look like somebody else's tree, just like you're a unique person, right? And that's what makes everything special, including human beings, is that everybody's unique. So you get to be yourself, and when you build a tree, you get to make the tree your way. And as long as you're staying within these ratios, it allows you that freedom. And that's why I wanted to share this with you today, is because I find quite a bit of freedom in being able to create a structure and then work within it, if that makes any sense. Okay, so now what I'm starting to do is adding a few more leaves here and there where I think are going to help the tree kind of fill in a little bit. All right. Now, actually, I'm pretty satisfied with this amount of leaves. I mean, you've probably seen trees that don't have a ton of leaf on them, right? Like in the real world. So I'm kind of like happy with the way that that looks. You could potentially leave it there, and it is recognizable as a tree. But I think it's a little bit less leafy than I would like. So I'm just gonna kind of expand out, and what I'm doing is I'm sort of expanding out like, so not on the ends, so not doing something like this necessarily, right? What I'm expanding out is more the inside here, okay? And then maybe I will expand out some of this exterior part a little bit like this, to kind of give it like the branches sort of branch out like that, creating our tree. So maybe we will do a little bit more on the exterior than I was going to. That, yeah, there we go. And then that's kind of making it look more like the branches are sort of branching out in a particular way, like that. Okay? And again, this is my process. This is my tree. If your tree looks exactly like my tree, then that's going to be pretty weird, because that would mean that your vision of what a tree looks like is exactly the same as mine, and I don't think it is, as everyone sees things differently. And that's okay, and that's the fun part of it. Okay. There we go. All right, so I'm just continuing to go to each one of these, and I'm adding some leaves kind of towards the outside. I was going to do it towards the inside, but that's kind of how I built that one. So I'm trying something else. I'm going to go more towards the outside. So like I'm not adding more leaves like back in here. I'm adding them on the outside of these to kind of make like the ends of these logs be where the leaves are sticking out. Okay, so I think I might have gone out of my ratio one block there. Maybe we'll kind of de-squarify this thing. Another thing you don't want to have a lot of is a lot of square looks. So like, see how this is flat under here? I have a couple of blocks to play with, so I'm not going to make that flat. I'm going to make that a little bit more, block, like, randomly textured like that. Okay, there we go. I'm going to do the same to this one, expand kind of the outer portions of it, like this. There we are. And I'm beginning to kind of almost just plop them wherever, right? And another interesting thing is, like, if you make a mistake, like, air quotes mistake, because how can you make a mistake here? If you make a mistake or put a block where you didn't really intend it to, a lot of times you can just leave it, because that is kind of the sense of randomness that happens, right? Because mistakes are kind of like random events. And so those random events kind of help you make a better tree, because random events, I'm sure, happen to the tree, right? Like maybe one year it didn't grow very well because it didn't have much water, and maybe another year it got struck by lightning, or maybe some bugs chewed on it or something. And those random events are what gave that tree its interest and its uniqueness. So if you accidentally place a block where you didn't quite mean to, as long as it doesn't look totally weird, just leave it, because that could be like some of the random events that happen to your tree. Okay. Continuing to do this. I think I'm liking this one best of all. That's good that you guys are seeing this one. Maybe my sound card was supposed to cut out or whatever. I have no idea what's going on with my sound. Why it cuts out sometimes. See how this kind of looks like it's like a little flat pancake looking thing. So I'm gonna mess that up. There we go. All right, just gonna continue to do this. Again, I'm adding blocks towards the end of my. I'm adding leaf blocks towards the end of my logs. Not back in the center, because what I wanted to create was this tree that sort of had a lot of leaf on the exterior of the canopy, but then as you're looking up inside, you can sort of see, oh, the structure of the tree. I think that that's starting to look really good. So we're just going to continue to do this until Hex is happy with the way his tree looks. And this is kind of why doing this in survival mode can be difficult, is because to place all these leaves like this is going to require some scaffolding, and it's hard to see what your tree looks like when you have the scaffolding in the way. So it's definitely going to be a little bit challenging to do this in survival. But if you practice and kind of get the idea of it in your creative worlds, then when you do this in a survival world, then it's a little bit easier to know what you're going for and what kind of things worked for you and what kind of things didn't work for you. So building trees, I'm trying to take the some of the mystery out of it by giving you these ratios, but I'm also wanting you to, what do we call it? practice a little bit, because there is a little bit of an art to it once you get to this stage, but most of that art has been taken out by the ratio. So you don't have to worry about, like, is your tree going to be is you going to have enough leaves to trunk? But you are going to have to worry about, did I make the tree look the way that I wanted it to? All right, I'm feeling pretty happy about this. Maybe just a little bit more right there and right there. And I kind of have this funny little hole right here where you can see into the tree, but I'm not sure I'm not sure I don't like that. I actually do kind of like that. So maybe just a little bit on the inside of this tree. Maybe there's just a few blocks like this. Maybe there's a branch that comes out this way, like a thinner branch. It's almost like you have to imagine where the thinner branches might be in your tree. Maybe there's one kind of that way. And then put leaf blocks in those places. Maybe there's like a little branch that comes out up here. Like that. That kind of makes sense, right? Like maybe there's just like a little branch that kind of sticks off this way, but I don't really have a thin enough material to build that. I suppose I could use like some, what do you call those things? Like fence posts, but I think that might end up looking weird. Where if you kind of just put the leaves where the branch might actually be, then you can kind of create the illusion that there was a little branch there. Does that make sense? Yeah. Hopefully it does. Maybe it makes sense to me and to nobody else. But that's okay. All right. All right, so I'm filling in the inside just a little bit so it doesn't look quite so bare. I'm kind of using this idea of like, well, maybe there's like a little branch that's sticking out of that one right there. Okay, cool. And then if you're under the tree, does it look tree-ish? Very much so. All right, I think that maybe right here we need a little branch that sticks out. Maybe it kind of sticks out that way. Kind of comes up and in like this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's good. Maybe there's just a little branch like maybe right here. Maybe sticking that way. Maybe up and out this way, like that. Just a couple of yeah, that's good. Okay, and then maybe there's one right here, kind of on top of this block that's sort of sticking out that way. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And there's one right there. Okay, so I think we're ready to take these two blocks out, see how it looks. I'm really happy with this one. You guys are lucky because this is the one I am most happy with out of all of my trees. I think I'm going to break this right here and put this and make it come out a little bit. How does that look? Does that look derpy? Just a little bit derpy, doesn't it? Well, I'm going to leave it though. I'm going to leave it because it's almost like I want one of these to be a little bit different than the other two. So, I don't know. I don't know which one's better. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. That's good. Okay, there we go. There's our custom tree. So on the bottom here, what's a good idea is to kind of maybe expand this out a little bit, because trees tend to be a little bit larger at their foot because that's how they're made. So maybe put like 1 or 2 blocks down there. You don't want to overdo it too much because you're dealing with these sort of Minecrafty looking blocks. So maybe something like this would be nice. Yeah, that kind of gives it that more sort of swooping out look right here. Okay, and then also what you want to do is you want to come out maybe this way a little bit on a diagonal, maybe here, just to kind of show that maybe there's some roots like growing out away from the tree. And then another thing is like wherever there's roots growing out away from the tree, there tends to be places where plants can't grow, because the tree itself is kind of producing some acids or something. I don't quite understand how that works, but maybe a biologist could tell me the word for this. But basically, when you're underneath the tree, right, like up against the tree, there tends to be places where like there's no plants, like their plants are up to the tree, but not beyond it. So that would be kind of represented by this podzol. Podzol, is it podzol or podzol? Let me see. Podzol, yeah. Okay, some people say podzoil. I've heard that before. Anyways, so then in order to finish it off, we'll just do a little bit of bone meal here and there, maybe like that, just to kind of you know, make a nice little grassy space around the tree. There we are. And we have the beautiful custom tree. There you go. Okay, so keep in mind that I built 1, 2, 3, 4 before I built one that I was 100% happy with. I'm very happy with this one. So again, I recommend that you practice this in creative mode. But I do really like these other trees though. It's not like I don't like these at all. It's just that that one's my favorite. Looks really cool, doesn't it? I'm really happy with it. Okay. So a couple things that I learned on this one. It's really helpful to have a few more branches coming out, especially at diagonals and in different directions. The other one is like you don't want to put leaves as you're working. So once you put your initial round of leaves around each branch, you don't want to put them back as much as you want to put the additional blocks of leaves on the outside. So like, you know, having 2 here and 2 here, and then having 1 back there is a little bit better than having like, you know, one like 3 here, 2 here, 1 here. So the trees, they tend to cone out like, let me see if I can demonstrate it with some of this wool. Trees, they tend to cone out like this, like that, and like this. I'm trying to like build it inside of the tree a little bit. Like, so the cone of the tree is coming out this way, the cone of the branches, as opposed to going the other way like this, where you have like a point like this, and then they're going up like that, or like this. So that is not quite how trees grow. They grow usually with the branches coming outwards this way, rather than being more branches back here and less out at the tip. At least this type of tree that creates this round shape is like that. Okay, very, very cool. I'm really happy with it. Well, guys, this has been Hex. I hope you enjoyed this video about building trees. I hope you try to build your own trees, and hope this whole idea of the ratio of 2 to 3 and then multiplying that ratio to make larger trees than just the base one. I hope that works out for you. I hope that that's something that helps you build your own custom trees. Anyway, for now, don't forget to leave a like. If you really like this video and you want to see more like this, you can go ahead and subscribe. But I hope you guys have a great day, and God bless. I'm in a tree.